It's now time to bring you the feature on the show today as we look at the state of the Nigerian economy with a perspective on manufacturing sector in the country, the volume of imports so far as well. Nigeria has recorded about 40.94 trillion naira spent on the importation of manufactured goods between January 2017 and March 2021. Now, according to data obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics, the country earned only 4.22 trillion naira on the export of manufactured goods within this 5-year period. In its foreign trade report, the National Bureau of Statistics also notes that in the review period, total volume of imports and value was pegged at 66.43 trillion naira and total value of exports was 67.3 trillion naira. Manufactured goods dominate the import bill but contribute little to the export bill of the nation. Nigeria's exports are dominated by crude oil, according to the statistics obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, in the review period as well, the nation exported 49.31 trillion naira worth of crude oil compared to manufactured goods that only earned the nation 4.22 trillion naira. Well, joining me now live via Skype to discuss this development and strategies to aggressively drive the manufacturing sector to support export, I have economist Michael Ilo. Good to have you on the breakfast show this morning.
Thank you, David, for having me.
Now, this report we have from the National Bureau of Statistics clearly paints the picture of the value or the ratio we have in terms of our volume of exports versus volume of imports. Now, the value in terms of naira terms, now looking at how much we spent in the last 5 years, 40.94 trillion naira, just to have goods been brought into the country, and then we only earn barely 4.2 trillion naira as our exports. Our major export still remains crude. How deficient would you say the economy is, especially with regards to manufacturing and then driving the export base of the country?
Well, David, I think if you want to put it in layman's terms, you just have to go to maybe Lagos waterways and see the vessels that are bringing stuff into the country. When they are leaving, more than 90% of them, they don't have anything to take away from Nigeria to the rest of the world. And year in, year out, month in, month out, day in, day out, that is our experience. And if you don't have anything to offer the world, at the end of the day, you are going to run into problems. It's a good thing that we still have crude oil, but for how much longer? Even if we have an inexhaustible supply of crude oil, what about the market? People are looking for alternative sources of energy now. So somebody said the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I don't want to be pessimistic, but I believe that at the risk of sounding like a broken bottle, I would say we need a roadmap out of this dilemma that we have found ourselves. We need to have government looking at the macroeconomics, looking at things to do with unemployment and labor productivity, and looking at how to sustain and improve on investment levels in the country. These are the ways out. Other than that, very soon we find ourselves in a debt trap that may be difficult to dig our way out of.
It's quite a trap, like you've already described it now. But talking about the efforts of government, we have to also commend government in terms of some initiatives to assist the manufacturing sector, access to funding and a whole lot more. But infrastructure is also key. Take, for example, power, storage, in terms of value addition, research, in terms of value addition as well, standardization. We're not necessarily putting our best foot forward in as much as government is trying its best. So if we're doing good but not good enough in terms of the volume, then we're not really doing much, wouldn't you say? Now, I want to take you on the policy direction. You made mention of government and setting the agenda clear. Let's just shift our focus away from this fixation on oil. How do we now drive manufacturing, especially in our areas of comparative advantages? Every state is blessed. We're too blessed to be poor, wouldn't you say?
Well, specifically for manufacturing, I think you have to look at barriers to entry. Then you would have to look at access to capital for those who are interested in one thing or the other. And one umbrella that covers everybody will be security. Yesterday, I was looking at the story of the Dangote tomato paste factory up north. And they've been running for about 6 years now. They have never run above 20% of operating
Capacity.
Now the overhead is there. They at some point they even shut down, so they are barely scrapping by, just making the plant operational because there is no input to the factory. The idea was good, the vision was good. We were importing about 300,000 tons of tomato paste from China. So the guy came and said, okay, if I can do a 450,000 capacity tomato paste factory, I will take away that and give jobs to the Nigerians. At the end of the day, it's not panning out as expected, and the man may, in the short run, see a loss in his finance. So those are the issues. Government has some people are saying that everybody has to do their part, but I can tell you, if government does the needful, 80% of this problem will fizzle away in the next 2 or 3 years. Take power, for example. What can we do with power? Everybody can be generating using diesel. Now diesel is like 260 naira per liter. So, but if government comes and solve the issue of power, I don't have to buy generator, I don't have to buy diesel. I only have to pay for the power consumed. You'll be surprised that the ingenuity of the average Nigerian will come into play. These are things being enjoyed across the sub-Saharan countries by other countries close to us, Niger, Ghana, and the rest of it. Why are we having it difficult? Why is it so difficult to provide power? So government should put its house in order and put itself on a straight line to achieve its power sustainability. Yes, please.
And now, also talking about conversations around the line of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement strategically positioning Nigeria. That's also one of the biggest concerns. This is half year already. We are in the second half of the year, and the body language does not necessarily sit well in the sense that we are not taking aggressive investment strategies and then moves to ensure that we have our manufacturing sector well placed for this sort of trade agreement. That's on one side. And then we also have the shock of this new variant of the COVID-19. We know what's the first wave, the second wave did to economies. Now, largely going by the cues we've had from the first and second wave, what would be the biggest mistake you say we are still making as we speak today and not taking cues, because we can't afford another lockdown or restriction of movements? Imports, we're largely dependent on imports, from vaccines to raw materials and much more. Finished goods will be in a state of crisis, so to speak, wouldn't you say?
Okay, on your first question, I would say the tongue we always talk lean towards the aching truth. That is because government still has a lot to do. With the FCTA, I can understand the fear of Nigerian government. They are not ready. And without leaving myself, I would say we are not ready, because you need to make yourself competitive before you go out and compete. If you have not done your boxing trainings and the rest of it, and the next thing you are challenging Tyson Fury to a fight, I'm sure you will have done your will or whatever before you do that. So that is on the first side. On the issue of Delta, I would say Delta variant. I would say the government tried, but we have not tried enough. There is no other way other than vaccination now. You know, even if you are talking of herd immunity, you need 75% of your population to be vaccinated. I don't know in what universe, when you are not talking of the time of Jesus turning 2 fish and 3 loaves of bread to feed 5,000 people. There's no way we can use 5 million or 10 million COVID vaccines to achieve herd immunity in Nigeria. So government has to look for the resources, even if you have to domesticate production. I'm not saying that we should buy. What if we create a factory, get the license and create a factory? If it's going for $20 per job, why can't we negotiate for $5? Okay, this is a developing country, we have population, we are buying 50 or 100 million at a time. Can you bring this price down? I'm sure those people are doing business. They will sell it for us and we achieve whatever we need to achieve, because shutting down economies every other month now on the basis of COVID-19, for an economy like us that doesn't have much room for leeway, we find out that it's a problem in the long run, and our growth will be stymied.
Well, the shocks we also have from the global front as well. Do you think we can make any forecast for manufacturing, or we'll just have to wait and see how the pendulum swings?
Well, if I'm close to the driving seat, I can tell you it's something we can do, but the willpower has to be there. You know, but you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. That is the classic definition of foolishness. But I want to believe that the government has the interest of Nigerians at heart, and they are willing to do whatever it takes. the starting point would be to put a team together and they'll be willing to listen to them. In the next 6 months, we can have a roadmap, and in the next 2 or 3 years, the rate of growth of Nigeria will even astound the world, and the people can be coming here to ask, how did you do it? But other than a good definition, a good roadmap, a good starting point, you can't be driving in the wrong direction and expect to reach your destination. It doesn't happen. That's not how the natural world works.
Thank you very much for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning, Michael. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, David, for having me.